On the 19th of July 2020, I climbed the Matterhorn with my husband, Dave. We did not employ a guide. We were not complete novices and had already climbed a number of other 4,000 metre peaks, including all three of the Mont Blanc summits. Mont Blanc du Tacoul, Mont Blanc itself, and Mont Mordi. But I can't believe that anyone who sees this mountain for the first time when walking through the streets of Zermatt would be anything other than completely awestruck. The Matterhorn is nicknamed the Killer Mountain, and I was not untouched by its reputation. An acquaintance of mine had lost his daughter attempting this climb. So it was not without trepidation that we set off that morning with the intention of reaching the 4,478 metre summit. So welcome viewers. The aim of this video is to share our own experience and our recommendations for successfully reaching the summit of the Matterhorn. So, training. I'd heard a lot about training for the Matterhorn. I even overheard one climber discussing his method of climbing up and down steps with a heavy loaded backpack on in order to strengthen his quads. I've always been into training, whether or not it's to climb a particular summit. I had no special Matterhorn routine, only years of running, cycling, swimming, strength training, and most importantly, mountaineering. The most relevant aspect of all that training, I guess, would be winter climbing, which is rarely possible living in Britain, as we don't often get much opportunity for that. But whenever there is a chance, Dave and I head to the Lake District or Scotland to enjoy the winter conditions. We're generally comfortable to round winter grade 3, which is technically way more than you would need to tackle the most popular route to the summit of the Matterhorn, the Hornley Ridge. But winter climbing in the British mountains, whatever the grade, will never prepare you for high altitude, nor will it necessarily prepare you for the strength of mind needed to tackle the high altitude peaks. Whilst not being in the habit of creating body-specific training routines, we've done a lot of climbing and mountaineering, which of course is relevant to attempting a long and tiring climb on a big mountain. As well as the Matterhorn, I had always wanted to traverse the Coolin Ridge in Skye, which is the best and nearest thing to an Alpine traverse in the British Isles. We achieved this in May 2017, which did give us confidence for our subsequent Matterhorn adventure. I do believe that regular exercise, taken hiking, backpacking, climbing, the kind of thing that you'll see on this channel, is and has been the main contributory factor for our success in obtaining that most beautiful summit. Strength is important, both physical and in here, and I've always been very keen to keep up a regular pattern of strength training in our own homemade gym in the garage. But back to the Matterhorn. The guidebooks will generally recommend that if a party attempting the Hornley Ridge has not reached the Solvay Hut by 7 AM, then they should retreat. The Solvay Hut is a small emergency shelter located about 2/3 of the way up the mountain. It's 743 metres above the Hornley Hut, and it's 475 metres below the summit. The Hornley Hut is where most climbers spend the night before attempting the Hornley Ridge from the Swiss side of the mountain. The other popular route from the Italian side is the Lion Ridge. Our own choice of route was the Hornley Ridge, with a night at the Hornley Hut. Secondly, acclimatisation. Now this is a tricky one. The weather can be so fickle in the Alps and may not play ball when you only have a couple of weeks for acclimatisation and a summit attempt. My advice would be that if you're not supremely confident, don't make an attempt if the weather is not favourable. It's just not worth it, even for the Matterhorn. In Switzerland there are many really good peaks to climb and acclimatise. In my opinion, the best one is Breithorn, being a relatively short and uncomplicated ascent, which will give you a chance to hike in thin air and hang around on the summit for a while if time permits. But there are plenty of others. We have in the past acclimatised on Breithorn, Castor, Pollux and Nadelhorn, amongst others. Switzerland has loads of 4,000 metre peaks, a good number of which are technically more challenging than the Matterhorn, but many others which can be ascended much more easily. Thirdly, Reconnaissance. I've always believed that this is an absolute necessity. When arriving at the Hornley Hut, our first priority was to go and climb the first bit of the mountain. These are the lower rocks of the Matterhorn, and here is where we carried out our reconnaissance the evening before doing the climb. Here's the hut, and we probably went as far as this lower section here.
More often than not, you will be approaching your climb in the dark wearing head torches, so I can't stress the importance of reconnaissance enough.
And so it proved on our climb. We discovered the day before our climb how very easy it would be to wander out onto the east face of the mountain, which I believe is how many fatalities occur. Miss out this preparation at your peril.
Fourthly, pacing.
Being unguided, we had to wait until all of the guided parties had set off before we could begin our climb. I was feeling on top of the world at this point, since I tend to get the nerves out of the way the night before. But no matter how enthusiastic you might feel, it's a long and strenuous ascent, and you must pace yourself and keep your wits about you with route finding. It's generally a 4 AM start, which gives you 3 hours to reach the Solvay hut. We reached it at 7 AM. 3 hours after that, at 10 AM, we reached the summit. Pacing is important. If you're way behind the 7 AM recommended start of the Solvay hut, it may be wise to reconsider and descend, since it will not get easier higher up. But if all is well, it's equally important to take great care and do not burn excess energy trying to race to the summit. Enjoy the experience.
The route at the Matterhorn is mostly scrambling, with occasional areas of loose rock. I say occasional because I was generally surprised how good the rock was most of the time. This was partly because there were not large parties above knocking down rocks, and partly because we were en route.
If you find yourself amongst horrendous loose rock, then you may well be off route. Take great care to follow the correct route at all times.
It's surprisingly easy to lose the way and wander out onto the east face of the mountain.
The route does not follow the crest of the ridge all the way up, though you will encounter it above the Solvay hut, and it's sensational. When not climbing the crest, you'll mainly be to the left of it, above the east face.
There are 2 steep, well-protected sections known as the Moseley slabs, upper and lower.
The Solvay hut is here.
The lower slabs are negotiated just prior to reaching the Solvay hut, and the upper slabs are above the hut. Higher still, the prominent shoulder which can be seen so clearly from afar is encountered.
These upper slopes are strenuous, and my memory of this was of hauling my entire body weight to a very steep wall of rock on fixed ropes.
The summit slopes are often icy, which may necessitate the use of crampons.
You'll know when you're close to the summit ridge, which is spectacularly narrow and airy.
When you pass a statue of St Bernard.
If you do not have a head for heights, this could be a very dizzying experience.
The summit of the Matterhorn is a spectacular place to be. Quite apart from the wonder of standing on the summit of such a beautiful and iconic mountain, the views are absolutely breathtaking. I could have cried with joy. Finally, descent. In my opinion, this is the most crucial and the most difficult aspect of climbing the Matterhorn. Do not underestimate the difficulty of downclimbing all you have managed to ascend. It's way more difficult in descent, and especially after exerting so much effort to attain the summit. Be sure to take great care here.
There are stanchions or iron rings which can and should be used for belaying in descent. In addition to using the stanchions, we made one full abseil to descend the steep shoulder. The Hornley hut can of course be used for a second night, but if like us you've planned to return to Zermatt, you may, if you've made good time, make the final cable car back down from the Schwartzy station. We missed this by a significant margin and therefore had to descend a further 1600 metres.
Elated but tired, we made several wrong turns on the way down.
There are many trails around this area, all way marked, but for tired climbers after a full day on the Matterhorn in failing light, the numerous paths can be confusing, or maybe our brains are dimmed from the altitude.
In any event, the pleasure of clomping through Zermatt in big boots and climbing sacks at 10 PM, watching the tourists in the bars, can simply never be equalled. I hope you've enjoyed watching this. If so, please do take a look at my other videos and consider subscribing. Thanks everyone for taking the time to watch, and good luck if you decide to climb one of the world's most beautiful mountains.
Until next time, cheerio!